Hello, everyone, and welcome to Connecting the Dots with Dr. Ashaye. This is a great place to be if you desire to take charge of your health so that you can live fully while enjoying doing what you love. And today I'm excited. We're here with a special guest, Dr. Ann Huntington, an internal medicine trained hospitalist medicine physician. And we're going to be discussing essential oils, the science behind it, and its uses. So Dr. Huntington is a medical director of over 50 hospitalist physicians, was a medical director of over 50 hospitalist physicians during the pandemic. She has expertise in quality, patient safety, peer review, privileging, and credentialing. She is the CEO of Give Mom Naturally, where she teaches lifestyle and integrative medicine tools with special expertise in the field of essential oils. And she created a CME course for physicians on the science, safety, and therapeutic benefits of essential oils as an integrative tool. So excited to have her here. Welcome, Dr. Huntington.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited that you're here. So before we get into it, you're listening to Connecting the Dots with Dr. Ashaye. I'm your host, Lola Ashaye. I'm a double board certified family and lifestyle medicine doctor and owner of In Touch Primary Care, a membership clinic in Sugar Land, Texas. If you are seeking a much more convenient and proactive approach to your healthcare, come join us. You can enroll at www.intouchprimarycare.com. Remember, you can listen to this episode and all our other episodes on the In Touch Primary Care YouTube channel. Subscribe and please share with someone that might need it. You never know, it could make a huge difference for them. So let's get into it. Dr. Huntington, can you tell me a little bit more about yourself and how you got into essential oils?
Absolutely. Well, this story begins, there's different phases of the story, but we'll kind of just share with my career. So I've been a practicing physician for over a decade, and as you mentioned, an internal medicine doc. And when I finished my training, I came to a large community-based not-for-profit healthcare system and did outpatient internal medicine for 7 years, as well as some inpatient medicine during that time. I would work a few shifts every couple of months and really loved my outpatient practice, really loved helping people get great results by controlling their chronic diseases. But I also found myself increasingly wanting to help them truly be healthy, to really improve their wellness, improve their energy, really help get off unnecessary medications or help reduce their medication burden through their lifestyle. And like you, it sounds like I became very heavily interested in lifestyle medicine, really that focus on, whole food, plant-based nutrition, exercise, stress reduction, adequate sleep, kind of all of those tenets that are really paramount to a healthy lifestyle. And it was difficult in my situation to really spend that much time doing that. The system wasn't set up for me to be able to do that by myself, as well as manage, 15 medical problems and that many medications and all of that. But I really had a passion for that, and my patients got great results. During that time, I was really interested in all of the supplements people would bring into clinic, right? They would have this list and would ask about them. And I didn't have any training on that, just like I didn't have any nutrition training in medical school or residency. And I was trying to be supportive of them and really trying to figure out how to help them and how to keep them safe and, learn about drug interactions and all of those things and learn about the research. And it was tricky. It was hard to figure that out. And it was also a challenge to learn about the different quality of all of those, right? They're not really regulated, so the quality is kind of all over the board. But I wanted to support them. And my journey into essential oils really came initially as I had a patient who told me that she was using essential oils and I had no idea what she was talking about, right? I remember in the exam room just having her, share that and really trying to be supportive, but really I felt ignorant as to what those were, what they did, what the risks were, what the benefits were. So I kind of kept that in the back of my mind as well as I was trying to learn. A few years ago, one of my kids actually just developed a cough and congestion in the winter months. So several years ago, before the pandemic, And I knew that it was going to be self-limited. I knew that they would be okay. I knew it wasn't an emergency, but I also knew we might be in for a rough few days. And as this had happened many times, it happens to all of us. And so for whatever reason, that day, I reached out to a friend who I knew had some experience with essential oils and asked her if they would benefit and asked her what I could do. And she sent me home with what's called a diffuser. It's a water reservoir where you can put some drops of essential oils in and it vaporizes into the room. And so she sent me home with that and with some samples of some essential oils, taught me how to use it. I tried it out kind of with myself first to make sure everything was okay. And then I put it in my kids' bedroom when they were going to sleep. And I noticed I kind of hung around outside to see what would happen, if anything. I wasn't expecting anything. I didn't have any, I didn't have any preconceived notions about this at this point, but I knew they were relatively safe based on the research I had done. And within a few minutes, their congestion subsided significantly. Their coughing stopped. They went to sleep. They didn't wake up a bunch of times in the middle of the night like they had before. And they were much better the next morning. Now, the physician scientist that I am said, all right, that's an N of one. That was one anecdote, right? But that triggered something in me as I saw it happen and play out in real time, just in a few minutes of improvement, to say, these could be biologically active. I need to learn more. So at that point, I took a deeper dive and I was open enough to integrative medicine tools to say, I want to learn more from my Western medicine background, my conventional medicine background, to see if these really can help my family and can help my patients. So I kind of started delving into the research. I started experimenting, kind of using them at home. Some friends also tried them out and had significant benefit. And that's kind of where I got that first start. And it's taken me years to get to this point, but it's been a wonderful journey.
That's awesome. Yeah. So that's a great story because, you had personal experience with that, and that really helps you convey that to your patients too. So that's awesome. And in terms of now, years later, do you have a story of how it's helped a patient in a different way? Because I know there are different ones for different, and you can use them in many different ways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, happy to share some of those, and I'll kind of share what essential oils are. They're kind of from the plant, so they're many of the plants will have oily sacs on the leaves, in the flowers, in the bark, even, or sometimes the roots, or even tree resin, and they will have an oily substance that's aromatic. You can smell it typically. And it's also volatile, meaning it evaporates from liquid to gas at room temperature. So those are some of the properties of essential oils. And they also have chemistry in them. They have different therapeutic properties. And this is going to take you back to organic chemistry, which hopefully doesn't bring back bad memories from your training. It's basically chemistry in action, where the plants have these essential oils, to protect themselves, right? From disease, from bugs, from pests, to help them pollinate and attract pollinators. And so basically to help the plant be healthy. And we've found over time, over millennia, that these have been used in different civilizations, that they have a lot of different benefits. Tea tree in Australia, for example, has been used on certain skin conditions and certain wounds for a long time. Lavender in Europe has been used for a lot of benefits, for calming benefits. And so over time, civilizations have understood how to use these plants in significant ways. And then with research and with a lot of the newer processes to develop these, we've learned how to concentrate them more and what their properties are. So that's just a little bit of background on what these are. And often the research is propelled by how these places are using them for centuries or millennia. So I would say some of the biggest benefits for our listeners are in the mental health arena, right? We have gone through a rough few years, and life is not easy. Life is stressful. And we know that many of the doctors listening, we know that many of our other health conditions can be influenced by how our mental health is doing. That is a significant, contributing factor to how well we can control some chronic diseases, how well we, function in society, how well we function at our jobs. And our mental health has kind of taken a hit over the last few years for kids, for teenagers, for adults. And there's some really good evidence, including in vitro studies, some animal model studies, some randomized controlled trials, even some meta-analyses and systematic reviews for the doctors listening, that'll resonate with you. On a lot of these in the mental health arena, some of them, like lavender, are very calming, has some properties. Linalool, for example, is the main chemical constituent of lavender, one of the main, and it has really calming properties. And so I've had people use these, and I've had even people in the hospital, for example, had one lady that was there, and I was asking her what she typically did when she was anxious, and she said, well, I walk out, I get my exercise, I walk out in the foothills, and that really helps. And then I also use essential oils. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. And lavender was one of those that she would use to help her feel a little less anxious. So I've had lots of experience with that. With teenagers, with kids, we often use them. And a lot of people will use them to diffuse in their bedrooms at night, help them relax before sleeping. And that can really be a really good habit as you're kind of turning down the lights, the screens are totally off, you're, doing your bedtime routine. And that can really help calm down some of the wiggles and some of the anxious feelings about the next day. So there's some really significant benefit, I think, in that arena.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. And it's, pretty safe overall. I know there are different ways that you can use them. You can either have them through the diffuser, or you can ingest some of them depending on which ones they are. So that's great that, people can use them in different ways. So
Yeah.
how do people know how to choose essential oils? Like, what should they be looking out for?
Yeah, that's a great question. The market is unregulated. It's crazy. It's a multi-billion-dollar market. Essential oils are everywhere. They're in our food supply. So sometimes as food flavoring, a little bit of wintergreen in your gum. There's a lot of food flavoring. There are in our hair care products, you'll get some rosemary, sometimes tea tree, or sometimes lavender in your hair care products. They're in our skincare products. They're everywhere. Sometimes they'll be listed as fragrances, which are not truly essential oils. That's more the smell, and it's usually formulated in a lab. That I don't really recommend, as we're kind of trying to limit our exposure to a lot of synthetic chemicals because of potential, long-term health concerns. So in general, when you're looking for therapeutic essential oils, it can be tricky because many of these companies are marketing them and saying they're therapeutic grade, or they'll say they're organic, or they'll say they're pure, and they may not necessarily be what you think you're getting. So a few things to look for when you're looking for essential oils, when you're looking at the oils themselves, look at, they'll have the name of the oil, but they'll also tell you the plant parts, the part of the plant that they used to, create this essential oil. Cinnamon leaf and cinnamon bark are very different. Cinnamon bark's much more expensive and has different therapeutic properties that we like a lot for different metabolic benefits and some others. So you need to look at the plant. Do they label the plant parts? And then do they have the Latin name of what they're using there? And then do they have it in a dark amber colored bottle? That's always important because light and heat can oxidize the oils, can kind of damage them and reduce the quality. And then some other things, some of the labeling again is tricky, but is it organic or is it wild crafted? Are their processes clear to make sure they have testing to make sure there's no contaminants or adulterants? One of the major tests that the listeners can look for on these websites, potentially on the bottle, but typically on the websites, is do they have GCMS testing? It's gas chromatography, mass spectroscopy testing. And that is an important thing to make sure they've got in there what they say they've got in there. That's not the only test that needs to be done, but that's one important one. Sometimes you'll see on the bottom or on the bottle a lot number. And can you trace that lot number of the bottle back to the website? Can they tell you how they produced it, where they got it from? That's another clue. Some of these companies are diluting oils, either with a lesser expensive oil or with a carrier oil, like a vegetable oil that's not an essential oil. Sometimes they're not telling people about that, and that can be concerning. The other thing to look for is the price. If you have a $5 bottle of probably anything, then it's probably not a pure essential oil. If you have, and so typically the citrus oils are a little more expensive in the $10 to $20 range. Sometimes the flower oils, lavender, peppermint, are in the $20 to $30 range. Frankincense is is more expensive to produce, and it's going to be much more expensive. A bottle of rose I don't even own because it's several $100s because it's so expensive. I have a diluted rose. So that's something else to look for when you're looking for quality. And then another couple of ways you can look are, what does it smell like? Does it smell like chemicals? Does it actually smell like lavender? Does it smell like rose? Does it smell like peppermint? And then if you put it on your skin for a little test, does it smell funny, or does it really smell still like the oil? Those are a few ways that people can do when they're looking at quality. And then when you look for the companies, I always tell people to look at what their education looks like, how they talk about the science, how they talk about the sourcing, where they get these, how they produce them, how they talk about the research. Are there any physicians and scientists involved in this process? Do they have a medical advisory board? What is their process for getting the highest quality, absolutely the highest quality, and being safe with the environment and protective of, the plants and the people who produce those? And are they scientifically sound? So those are some ways to kind of start looking. And then one other thing is, do they have third-party testing as well? So those are some ways that people can, look for quality when they're looking for essential oils.
Yeah, well, that's very comprehensive. A lot of clues that people can have. And I think that's so helpful, because that's usually a limiting factor for a lot of people, not knowing what to look for, so that they can make sure that they're not harming themselves, by using something that should help them. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so I know you're really passionate about this, and we have a few minutes left, but how can others learn more? So can you share a little bit more about what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. As a physician, my biggest concern when I started this journey was safety. And I really felt like it took a long time to learn the safety of these. In general, they're quite safe, but there's a lot of important points to learn about safety. And so that's one thing before you start using anything, really find out, is it safe, how to safely use it. That's one area of focus that I do. And as you had mentioned before, I have a course for physicians on essential oils. To some of my physician colleagues, it may sound a little crazy. Some of my physician colleagues think these are snake oil. And if you buy one that is super diluted, it may be snake oil because it may not do anything. It might just smell kind of nice, but it might not really do anything. But these do have a lot of therapeutic properties, and the research supports it, as well as the vast majority of significant anecdotal evidence, not just a one-off, but really, years and decades and centuries of use. So I am teaching physicians, I'm teaching all of our colleagues about how to use these well, so they can teach their patients and help their patients get really great results. And when their patients come in with a lot of questions, they can get really great results. So I have a virtual CME course that is 4 weeks. It's a little bit longer. And it really dives into the safety and the therapeutic benefits and the research. For my physician colleagues, also for pharmacists and dentists can also join, because in some of the dental preparations, they use certain essential oils as well. And then the pharmacists will really, enjoy learning from a therapeutic standpoint. Some of the health systems are using these as well. And so there may be somebody, at your health system that may know. And then, some of the labor and delivery departments are using these, some of the midwives and some others. There are different places that are using these more and more. And so they may have a little bit of information. But I will, eventually be coming out with additional training for the public. I do have an email list that anybody can sign up for. You don't have to be a doctor. And I will do some teaching over time through my email list to really help train people on how do you find safe ones? How do you use these? How do you get results? All of those things. So those are some of the best ways to find out. And then on my website, there's some information on quality and on testing and what kind of testing to look for. So my website is www.givemorenaturally.com. And anybody can, go on that, and then you can subscribe to my email list and continue to learn more and follow along. But I encourage everybody, ask your doctor. Hopefully your doctors, the docs can get trained on this. And then, we can continue learning about this process. It's fascinating.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So we're going to have all your information on the in the comments so that people can, you know, go to your website and connect with you in all the various ways. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, great. So we've come to the end of the of today's session. Thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe and share with someone that might need it. And if you're in the Houston area and you would like to experience the peace of mind that comes with being able to reach your doctor when you need it, or you're seeking a personalized, proactive healthcare, come join our membership practice at InTouch Primary Care. Our website is www.intouchprimarycare.com. And thank you for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Huntington. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.